Good evening. I'm Rebecca Lucky, and I'm the Sustainability Manager for the city. I'm the liaison for the Environmental Quality Commission, and it looks like a few people are joining. I just want to let you know that the commission is slightly smaller. We've got 5 members, and in order to have a quorum, we need to have 4 members present. So we're waiting on one more environmental quality commissioner to get this meeting started. So please hang tight, and we will start the meeting when we can get the 4th commissioner. Some of them are having to do Zoom updates as well, so it's taking a little time to get logged on.
Can everybody hear me? Okay, sorry, I was running late and then I had some technical issues, but it sounds like we can get our meeting started. So I would like to welcome everybody to the Environmental Quality Commission meeting on March 16th. I apologize for any noises somebody might hear in the background. We're just feeding our dogs dinner. So there you go. My name is Ryan Price. I'm the chair of the EQC. This is a teleconference meeting with all the members of the Environmental Quality Commission, city staff, and members of the public. We're all participating remotely to ensure proper social distancing during this federal, state, and local emergency. It is currently 6:10 p.m. We can start with roll call. So I'd like to introduce the staff and EQC members present. So I can start with Commissioner Elkins.
Present.
Commissioner Cabot.
Present.
Commissioner London.
Here.
And I believe we have the staff present are Rebecca Lucky, the Sustainability Manager.
Yes, thank you, Chair Price. And I was hoping to take the opportunity to introduce a new member to our sustainability team who's joined as a management analyst. His name is Ori Paz. And I'm so pleased to have him on the team. And just to give a short bio on Ori's background, he received a Bachelor in Science in Environmental Studies from UC Santa Barbara. And he's very excited about big ideas and volunteered for a nonprofit startup called School Grown, bridging aquaponics, education, and community source agriculture, and worked as a substitute teacher before joining the City of Menlo Park as an intern with the environmental program team in public works back in 2015 before sustainability joined the city manager's office, and also before I came back from New Zealand. And Ori is really rejoining the sustainability division from the planning division. So planning was very sad to see him go. He worked there for 6 years, starting as a planning technician and then advancing to an associate planner. So during his time with the city, he pursued his desire to learn how things get built and interest in green, and developed his interest in green and sustainable development more, and grew his project management skills for a range of increasingly complex project developments. He is also a LEED accredited professional in building design and construction. He also was a lead in the EV charging ordinance that's currently on the city's books for as rules, and worked on energy reporting as well. So his professional interests include regenerative building design, and adaptation, process improvement, and communication for collaboration. I will add that Ori is very creative. He's been a great addition to the City of Menlo Park. He really helps to build culture. He is able to, he's a great communicator, and is just well liked by so many in the city. In his personal life, he enjoys spending time with his wife, his friends and family. He also writes poetry and goes to open mic events. And moving over water whenever he can, quickly over water. So I think he might have to tell us more about what that means. And so he's just really excited to be working in sustainability. When I talked to Ori, this is really where his passion is. So I've been trying to get him on the team for quite some time. So I'm glad he finally has come around back home to sustainability.
Welcome back.
Welcome, Ori. It's really nice to meet you. We're excited to have you. So thank you for the introduction. Is this the time to ask about fast moving over the water, or is that for later?
Maybe.
Yeah, well, thank you for the warm welcome, and I'm very happy to be here. And yeah, just moving quickly over water in any form, you know. I'll take a swim if I can get it, but a boat, a board, frozen water, thawed water, I'll take it. It's a good feeling.
That's so many different formats, and in both of water and of how you move through or over the water. Excellent. Thank you. We're excited to have you. Now I think it's time to look and see if we have public comment. So under public comment, the public may address the advisory board on any subject that's not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the advisory board once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name, address, or political jurisdiction in which you live. And just so everyone knows, this advisory body cannot comment on the public comment. Therefore, the most we could do is kind of give you informational guidance if you give a public comment. And we can welcome Commissioner or Vice Chair Evans, who I just saw joined as well.
Thank you. Sorry, I had childcare issues. I had given staff a heads up I would likely be 10 minutes late, and in fact I was.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so, Miss Lucky, do we have any public comment at this time?
Thank you, Chair Price. So just as a reminder for those attending the meeting, staff, so if you wish to provide public comment after the chair calls for public comment, and I'm used to speak on, you can just use the raised hand feature on your Zoom application. It's usually next to your name or sometimes in the lower bar on the screen. For those members of the public who may be calling from a landline or a cell phone, please press *9 to raise your virtual hand. And just as a gentle reminder, just that we ask that the members of the QC just remain on screen for the duration of the meeting. Unless you need a break or anything like that, you can turn off the camera and just return back. You will be able to control your own webcams and microphones. So that concludes the instructions, and I will scan over to see if we have any public comments for items that are not on the agenda. I do not see any public comments. I return the meeting back to you, Chair Price.
Thank you. So now we move on to the regular business on the agenda. So under regular business, the EQC considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions. The first item on our agenda is to approve the February 16th EQC meeting minutes. That's, I'm introducing that item. Does anybody have clarifying questions from the EQC Commission? Does any commissioner have clarifying questions before we take public comment? I don't see any indication. So that said, Ms. Lucky, do we have any public comment at this time?
Thank you, Chair Price. So at this time, if you would like to make a public comment on the February Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes, you may do so at this time by using the raised hand feature or pressing *9 if you're calling from a landline. I do not see any hands raised, Chair Price. You may continue with the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So then I would open this item up for discussion. Does anyone want to start the conversation about the meeting minutes? No takers. If people don't have questions and somebody feels comfortable with the meeting minutes, it's appropriate to put a motion forward regarding the minutes.
I move approval of the minutes.
I will second that.
Excellent. So we have a motion and we have a second. We should call for a vote.
Thank you, Chair Price. So at this time, the motion made first by Commissioner Cabot and seconded by Commissioner London to approve the February Environmental Quality Commission meeting minutes. I'll take a roll call vote. Please answer yes or no verbally so we can record your vote. I will start with whoever's at the top of my screen first. So Commissioner Cabot,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkins,
Yes.
Commissioner London,
Yes.
Commissioner Price,
Yes.
and Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. We can now move on to the next item on our agenda. This is the item to consider choosing and recommending a building electrification reach code for 2023. I'm going to ask Ms. Lucky to introduce and present the item.
Thank you, Chair Price. Just trying to find my camera controls here. So tonight, I'm going to walk you through some of the potential options to consider for reach codes that could become effective in 2023. I do also want to welcome Assistant Community Development Director Chuck Andrews, who's here tonight to answer any technical questions. We've been working together along with other members of the building division, and as well as you'll hear later, the Bay Area Reach Codes Initiative team. So just a little bit of background on what the reach codes are. So every 3 years, cities and counties across the state can adopt local REACH codes in line with new building code standards or Title 24 of the California Code of Regulations, also known as the Energy Code. And cities and counties may adopt building codes that are more advanced than those required by the states, which are known as REACH codes. And they can be adopted anytime, but they're preferably done in alignment with the building code cycle, just to ensure that the review and there's no conflicts potentially with an upcoming code cycle, since it is 3 years seems like a lot, but it really isn't. New codes tend to come out about 1.5 to 2 years down the road before the cycle takes effect. So that's why it's ideal to do it concurrently with the state building code update. So that current cycle of update is occurring right now in 2022 with an effective date on January 1st, 2023. So the commission consideration for tonight is to consider choosing and recommending a building electrification REACH code option to the city council that could be implemented as early as January 1st, 2023. And this would really support climate action plan strategies number 1 and potentially number 3 based on some of the options. And REACH codes historically have covered lots of different areas, from water conservation to on-site renewable power. Energy efficiency was more of the traditional kind of aspect where local governments would increase energy efficiency requirements that were higher than the state standards. But the reason why we're focusing on building electrification at this time is to really reach our climate action plan goals to be carbon neutral by 2030. The city does recognize that there's a climate emergency and that we want to really address that. And in measuring our community greenhouse gas emissions, the ones that we can measure very well and have high confidence in the data, is a few sectors, typically building, transportation, and waste that is consumed or disposed of in the community. And so our 2 biggest factors at this time is transportation emissions from the use of gasoline in vehicles, and then building energy use in terms of natural gas that constitutes about 41% of the community's total emissions. And building energy use used to be another big chunk, but because we are able to procure renewable and essentially 100% greenhouse gas free electricity from Peninsula Clean Energy, and over 98% of businesses and residents are subscribed to that, we've really been able to minimize our greenhouse gas emissions that used to come from electricity. And so the whole move to electrification is really to capitalize and maximize addressing climate change through reductions in natural gas usage. So tonight I'm going to walk through 3 of the options. Option 1 is status quo. That's really continuing on what we are currently doing as far as building electrification that impacts new construction. And it has a few exceptions. Status quo is typically used when working in policy analysis, because it always is an option to potentially do nothing more than what we're already doing. So that's always looked at as kind of a baseline. And it's not one that staff is recommending, because it does not help us achieve the city's goal to be carbon neutral by 2030. So then the next option really is to refine the new construction REACH codes a little bit more to capture more greenhouse gas reductions. The city is going to be experiencing more development, different kinds of development over the next few years, as you've probably noticed driving around town. So this aspect will be really important in moving forward and ensuring that we're not increasing greenhouse gas emissions related to building energy use, and as well as a bit on transportation. And then the third option is to refine the new construction REACH codes and include which is basically everything in number 2, but also include existing building electrification measures. So this is really the recommendation that would go to City Council from staff. So the timeline is always very tight in trying to gather all the data to put forward a potential reach code option. And luckily we've had a very good start on this because last year we conducted a cost effectiveness analysis and policy options report. It's attachment A in the staff report that really goes over options for existing buildings. And then there is information about the new construction requirements as well that is being worked through with the Bay Area initiative, Reach Code initiative. So the kickoff really starts today, March 16th, so at the Environmental Quality Commission, and really the desired outcome is to provide City Council advice on Reach Code options to consider for January 1st, 2023, or close to that date. So the next stop after the EQC meeting is a City Council study session. And at a study session, there's no final decisions that are made. It's really to provide direction to city staff on what to move forward with. And if the council does provide direction on either option number 2 or number 3, which I'll walk through, a draft ordinance could be prepared and developed for public outreach. And that public outreach would then occur between summer and fall of 2022, and then return back to the Environmental Quality Commission in October this year to receive the final draft based on the public outreach and further analysis from city staff, and provide advice on staff's final recommendation to City Council. And then depending on how much from the first draft to the final draft things change, a November 2022 City Council study session is anticipated, and that's where we would receive the final direction to prepare an ordinance for a first reading and a second reading in late 2022 or early 2023. So the City Council has given previous direction on building electrification rules, or particularly for existing buildings. So as I mentioned in April, so I didn't mention this, but in April 2021, the City Council did direct staff to complete that cost effectiveness analysis and policy options report for existing buildings. So, what kind of, how much would the community be impacted if we created a rule for existing buildings? And then in August of 2021, that was presented to the City Council. It was also presented to the EQC that summer. And based on some of the challenges, both in cost in some areas, not all areas of building electrification for existing buildings, and just some of the dynamics involved with the building's layout, kind of the sizes of the different equipment between gas-fired and heat pumps was the main device we were speaking to when talking about transitioning gas heating appliances to electric. And those really needed to be addressed. A lot of that had to do with sometimes moving maybe a gas-fired water heater to a different location than its original location, and that might need to be outside or in the garage, and that could impact parking constraints or setback requirements. And so the city will likely need to do a deeper dive into modifying those kind of rules to make it easier or remove those barriers to ensure that that electrification is possible for a good swath of the community. And so the council did pause on any mandates for existing buildings. So you may be wondering why bring this up now? Well, existing building electrification remains a top priority for the City Council in their work plan. And it does maintain that commitment to responding to the climate emergency resolution the City Council signed a couple of years ago in 2020. And ultimately really to achieve our CAP goal to be carbon neutral by 2030. The other factor is that because this is a state building code cycle, it's an opportunity for many cities to look at REACH codes going forward. So there definitely are other cities in the Bay Area, and we're working together with them on existing building REACH codes through an initiative called the Bay Area REACH Code. And there, you can certainly view all of their materials that they have available on bayareareachcodes.org. And really, it involves a few counties in the Bay Area, primarily the Office of Sustainability from the County of San Mateo and the County of Santa Clara. The technical assistance that is being funded by Peninsula Clean Energy, which is a community choice aggregation of procurement of renewable energy. And they serve mainly San Mateo County, but there are other CCAs is what they're called in the Bay Area. There's East Bay Community Energy and Silicon Valley Clean Energy, and they all work to procure clean and renewable energy for their communities. These three do have members that range from 10 to 20 members. So there are a lot of cities that encompass these CCAs. And this was also discussed with the Environmental Quality Commission and City Council subcommittees. So there's a building decarbonization subcommittee for the EQC. Commissioner Cabot, Commissioner Evans, and former Commissioner Gillard was on the subcommittee. And for the City Council, it is Mayor Nash and Vice Mayor Willison. And so we discussed this back in February, and there was support in bringing forward options to consider as part of the Bay Area REACH Code initiative. So going through the options, option one, as I mentioned, is to really continue what we're currently doing. So our current REACH code was adopted in 2019 and became effective January 1st, 2020. It requires all electric equipment for newly constructed buildings, particularly for water heating and space heating. There's a few exceptions, and I'll go into those in option two. And the local REACH codes must be readopted every 3 years. And that process is to really make sure that any local codes do not conflict with upcoming new state codes. So it's kind of this checks and balance process. The Bay Area REACH codes initiative is looking at an alternative option where it wouldn't require readoption, and it's really adopting an ordinance outside of the building code amendment process, and that definitely can be explored as part of this process over the next several months. And just to give you a snippet of how impactful these new REACH codes, have been for new construction. So between when it was implemented in January of 2022 and May of 2021, so about a year and a half, 84 single family residential permits were issued that required electrification of heating equipment, and then 3 mixed use commercial and multifamily permits were also issued in that time frame. So option number 2 is to continue with the current REACH codes with some enhancements. So it still only impacts new construction, newly constructed buildings. And this option would consider removing all of the exemptions for life science buildings, public agency owned and operated emergency operations, non-residential kitchens, and low-rise residential cooking appliances and fireplaces. So those were some of the very few exceptions made for single family or residential buildings less than 3 stories. And so there is, since we adopted the REACH codes in 2019, there's just been a significant amount of progress in these areas. And so it would be worth exploring and reevaluating whether these exemptions still need to be included in the REACH codes. Just from our own experience as a public agency, so we are building a new community center in the Bellhaven neighborhood. and it is also going to function as an emergency center. It also includes a new swimming pool as well. And we were able to electrify all of those aspects of the building, plus provide solar production using photovoltaic panels, as well as battery storage, which lowers our operational cost, but also reserves energy in the event of a power outage. And I'll caveat that with saying too that there are maybe instances where the renewable power may not work, like if it's a very cloudy day or it's smoky outside, and there is the options to still bring on a mobile diesel generator if needed, but that still is far more efficient than having a diesel generator on site. And it also helps to charge that battery instead of having the generator run constantly. So another measure to being considered is to include all new pools that are installed, not just new pools that are included with new buildings. So that's kind of how our REACH code is currently written. And so it kind of creates an ununiform approach to new pools being installed. And also the natural gas used to heat pools is quite significant. It's matched with heating a home. And so that is definitely something that can help continue to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. It does increase cost potentially, but again, there's a lot of trade-offs with pools considering drought conditions and the amount of energy needed to heat a pool. So another measure includes increasing requirements for on-site energy generation. So this wasn't included in the staff report, but it was highlighted to me a few times because this was actually discussed kind of back in 2015, 2016 and implemented in 2017 as part of the Bayfront area zoning measure. And so there are some kind of placeholders for this measure to be adopted through a REACH code, where high-rise residential or commercial new buildings would require at least 30% of their energy demand to come from on-site renewable power. And so that's pretty significant when we start to talk about cost effectiveness with electrification and energy resiliency. So for electrification, that really helps it helps increase the cost savings. And it also provides kind of that backup power potentially during a power outage as well. And then the other part too is to potentially consider smaller minimal on-site generation for new buildings that are low-rise residential, so less than 3 stories. The technical consultants that provided the cost effectiveness report had pointed out that there are certain size systems that can really make electrification incredibly cost effective if it added a small bit of solar generation. So this is option 2 still continued. So the Bay Area REACH Code Initiative is proposing requirements for EV charging for new developments. And we did look those over. It's pretty extensive, and Menlo Park does have a pretty strong EV charging requirements, but there's a couple areas where we could match what the Bay Area Initiative is proposing. And one of those looks to multifamily requirements. And I think we talked about this at length last month about how important it is to have at-home charging. So this would increase Menlo Park's current EV charging requirements for multifamily from 15% of equipment being installed on day 1 to 40% of units. So going from 15%, that's the Menlo Park standard, to 40% of units having EV equipment installed on day 1. And another great aspect for the Bay Area REACH Code Initiative is that they're adding in automatic management load systems to be permitted. So that's really where it's a very smart system. It can kind of talk to the other cars that are charging and figure out which one needs it the most and kind of adjust the juice that's going to the vehicles. So that way it can help reduce the cost of kind of the amount of electrical load needed. So the Bay Area Reach Code teams did look into costs, and so it does increase construction costs about 0.3% of the total construction cost, or $40,000 for a 100-unit project. The proposal also would increase Menlo Park's affordable housing day one EV charging equipment requirement from 10% to 15% of units, and also require level 1 EV ready, which is basically having not necessarily the equipment, but having a plug ready for somebody. And there are other aspects in the Bay Area Reach Code proposal that we're looking through, such as putting in signage near the parking spot that says that this is an EV charging spot. So for the affordable housing requirements, it's was found to be cost neutral for a 100-unit project. So the affordable housing requirements are slightly, well, they're lower than the non-affordable EV charging requirements. And the table below here is essentially what our requirements are now for residential. So I can come back to that if needed. And then just continuing on EV charging requirements for new hotels. So again, the Bay Area Reach Code initiative is looking at having 5% of parking spaces at a new hotel be required to have EV charging equipment installed on day one. And I have a little diagram here that kind of shows what that means. And then 25% of the spaces would be level 2 EV ready. So that's basically the conduit and the plug. And then 10% of the parking spaces would be level 2 EV capable. So that would only just be the tubing, and the wiring and the equipment would need to be added to make that space work for charging. Okay, so option number 3, add existing building measures to option number 2. So based on the cost effectiveness and policy options analysis completed in 2021, we looked at kind of things that could be, or measures that could be implemented that are feasible and considered doable at this time of the code cycle. And so one of those is installation of a new or replacement air conditioner must be a heat pump, and that would apply to all residential. This is really a critical piece of infrastructure to start the conversion or the electrification of space heating equipment to heat pumps. And the Bay Area Reach Code effort did find this measure to be cost neutral with current incentives that are available. And the cost for electricity would be neutral because there are air conditioners already run on electricity, or it could be less with a heat pump because they do tend to be more efficient than their other electrical counterparts. So another measure would be electrification ready if the building permit involves installation of a solar PV system, photovoltaic system, or replacement or upgrade of a main electrical panel. And so this would, again, only apply to residential. So for 1 and 2 family homes and townhomes, there would need to be reservation of a breaker space. Again, if it is involving a PV system installation or replacement or upgrade of a main panel. And then also include wiring to the current water heater location to allow for the installation of a heat pump in an emergency repair situation. So this basically allows a building owner to quickly transition from a gas-fired appliance to a heat pump. And so for multifamily, this would look a little different. It would be to require wiring to a current water heater location in multifamily buildings that have either water heaters serving individual units in the same location or in buildings with a centralized water heating system.
I think, Rebecca, we can't hear you.
Thank you. So the second point under multifamily be reservation of electrical panel breaker space to accommodate additional loads associated with the heat pump, water heater, space heating, level 1 charging. So level 1 charging is a little bit different than level 2. Level 1 is your regular household plug, whereas level 2 is more of like a dryer outlet kind of plug. So these measures do add a bit of labor and material costs, but it really does help in that transition to heat pumps in the future and other electrical needs. So then the last measure really for existing buildings, this would be the third one, is to require heat pump-based equipment when natural gas heating equipment, so we're looking at water heating, space heating, is replaced before that gas appliance end of life. And this would apply to single family duplexes and townhomes. And so this really kind of potentially looks at projects that are maybe undergoing alterations or additions where a permit applicant is removing their gas furnace and going to put in a new one. And so in this instance, the building owner has some time to review and kind of research what kind of heat pumps, where it could go, put in the infrastructure that's needed to make that work. So this is kind of the start to kind of before kind of considering end of life kind of requirements or rules. So just to go over the greenhouse gas reductions, I probably don't need to say it to this group, but kind of what does that look like for each of these options and how does that help us reach our cap goals? So option 1, again, is status quo. It does prevent greenhouse gas emissions from increasing as a result of development. In some cases, it really helps reduce emissions if a building is being demolished and replaced with another building in the same location. For option number 2, which is, again, really only impacting new buildings being constructed, it does provide further greenhouse gas reductions because it removes some of those exemptions, increases EV charging on day 1, particularly for overnight and at home, which is when a car is parked the most, and it's more cost effective to charge a vehicle. It does provide that small scale on-site generation to help reach cost effectiveness, a greater cost effectiveness with building electrification, and reduces pool heating emissions in the community. Oops, went farther. And then option 3, which includes some of those existing building measures, does capture all of the reductions in number 2 and kind of starts to build GHG reductions in for existing buildings and really prep the community for an all-electric transition in the future. And so, I mean, these actions are not going to be enough to achieve the city's goal to be carbon neutral, but there is kind of a place for a mix of voluntary and future mandates. So the city is working on a variety, and some of you on the EQC are working in these areas as well to kind of support voluntary conversions in existing buildings and kind of gathering that data, building kind of the market and the knowledge on that. And that's something that we're certainly working on too as a city to kind of inform members of the community, and something that Ori will be really involved in his new role in sustainability. And I just want to also keep in mind that we'll be here in another 2 years to talk about kind of what this looks like again going forward, and how do we kind of build upon this and check in with the community to see kind of where they're at on existing building electrification. So just to close it out, the consideration again for tonight is to consider recommending a building electrification reach code option. And then the option that we're really hoping to kind of bring forward to City Council on April 12th is refining the new construction reach codes and including those existing building electrification measures for greater GHG reductions and kind of to set us up for the future. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any clarifying questions from the EQC commissioners before we go to public comment? Yes, Commissioner London.
Yes, Thanks. I just wanted to confirm there is not anywhere a 100% of units required to be electrified for multi-unit dwellings, or I guess there was one that was a proposal that there would be some level 2, in affordable housing, there'd be level 2s at some level, and then level 1s for the rest of all the units. But is there a requirement anywhere for multi-unit dwellings that 100% of the units have some sort of EV charging?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner London. That's a really good point to clarify. So as it stands right now, we do have at least 100% of some level of EV charging requirements. So for more than 2 units, we do require the conduit and wiring at each unit, and then the 15% of spaces need to have the actual equipment installed. And so the Bay Area Reach Code Initiative is looking at that mix of level 1, but because Menlo Park's, we actually have a requirement for level 2, like to pre-wire to level 2 standards for each multifamily unit. So we're not looking to kind of reduce our standards, because those do provide the greater charging and aspects depending on how someone drives. So I hope that answers your question. So that's still staying in there. What we're doing is it would be 40%. So for Menlo Park, what that would look like is 40% of a new multifamily development, 40% of the units would have access to EV charging on day 1. And the other 60% would have the level 2 plug, so the wiring, the conduit to their space. So that really does cover 100% to some degree, just different types of equipment, I would say. There.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Evans.
Thank you. I just have one clarifying question, actually, because Rebecca, thank you for going through all of this and laying it out in a really nicely organized way. It's very clear what each recommendation is and why. So thanks. I guess this is a clarifying question about timing too. I'm trying to figure out, do we know, I've received mixed information from different folks. Do we know when, I mean, so see on your PowerPoint, it says that the REACH code discussion at the council level will be April 12th. Do we happen to know at this point if that may be before or after the council has a conversation about a potential public-private partnership that would, enable a sort of at-scale voluntary program for the city? And I guess the reason I'm asking is I'm trying to figure out strategically what would be the best way to make council feel comfortable supporting more progressive REACH codes if they already knew that we're likely to have a robust sort of turnkey electrification retrofit service in place. I was just curious if you know anything about the timing of all of that.
I'd have to just check back on the agenda schedule, because there are other items that the city council does review. And so it's just understanding, but I know that we've talked kind of about the timing and getting the information needed kind of for a partnership program that could help the community kind of easily access electrification measures. And that will certainly be helpful in going forward if the council kind of considers that moving forward. So I'm not sure on the timeline on that.
Thank you.
Any other clarifying questions? I have one, so I'll ask mine then. So Rebecca, in your presentation, you talked about, and I think it was specifically for the heat pump water heaters, that in some cases when the city did the I think it was the cost effectiveness study, you said that they found that there were some kind of conflicts to implement, like parking requirements and setback requirements. How does the timing to review those relate to reach codes?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Price. So that would impact the planning division. And so to review those aspects, and luckily we have somebody from the planning division that's joined our team, but I mean, we still do need their kind of support and input on modifying that. So I think, and that can have a lot of, it's like peeling back an onion on some of those items. Not sure that's something that could be potentially kind of addressed like alongside this kind of proposal. But it is something that would be good to address the next kind of couple of years. And that certainly can be a direction as well to kind of move on to, so that we can kind of get to those meatier aspects of existing building electrification as far as rules go.
Thank you. And I now see 2 raised hands. I have Commissioner London. Oh, 1 raised hand, Commissioner London.
Hi, yeah, so just a clarifying question. So we have these 3 options for consideration tonight. Can we end up recommending a 4th option that is even more aggressive than any of these 3?
I mean, that's always an option too. I mean, part of it could be adding on to the options as well. So if the EQC feels an alignment with particular, and again, I don't, from a staff perspective, we're not necessarily looking at kind of moving forward with 1 or 2. It's really kind of, well, it's 2 and 3 kind of put together as a package.
Right. Okay. I just remember Council Member Mueller saying, push us until, you know, we have to say, whoa, that's too much, right? Like, don't come in under. He wanted the EQC's voice to be extra strong and for council to have to say, wow, that's aggressive. So just thinking a lot of his words. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other clarifying questions before we take public comment? I don't see any hands raised. So Ms. Lucky, do we have any public comment on this item at this time?
Thank you, Chair Price. So at this time, if you would like to make public comment on reach code options for 2023, please use the raised hand feature either next to your name or sometimes it's located the bottom bar of your Zoom screen. And I will be able to unmute your microphone. If you're using a landline or a cell phone, you need to press *9. So with that, we do have 1 hand raised at this time. Diane Bailey. And yes, thank you. You've unmuted your microphone. And you have three minutes as well, but I'm sure you know that already.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Diane Bailey, and I run a small community climate action nonprofit called Menlo Spark, working to help decarbonize Menlo Park and the broader region. And I also sit on the Community Advisory Committee for Peninsula Clean Energy. It's great to see the reach codes for clean energy come back to Menlo Park for discussion. Menlo Park was such an important leader in 2019, and all of you really should be commended and feel proud that you paved the way with the first all-electric required reach code, and that spurred dozens of other cities to follow suit and became the mainstream choice. And that is really a significant amount of progress to ensure that new homes and buildings are clean and carbon-free and prevent an increase in fossil fuel use. And so I hope that we can continue that trajectory and start to look at existing buildings. They're really a critical piece here. And I hope that we can view these options today in the context of the current climate crisis. Relative to that, they're really not enough to meet our current needs. These options wouldn't really put us on track to meet our city's climate goals and specifically CAP 1. And it would be really helpful to see a comprehensive roadmap to achieve the CAP 1 goal to transition 95% of homes and buildings. As you know, methane is a climate super pollutant. It's now understood to be leaking and emitted in much greater quantities than previously thought. And it's also responsible for a similar amount of global warming as CO2. It's also known to be leaking from the gas appliances in our homes, even when they're not in use, constituting a major safety hazard. And when burned for cooking and other uses, gas is linked to extremely unhealthy indoor pollutant levels and a serious increase in health risks such as asthma. We know there are really limited resources within the city, and I think it'd be really great to focus on some of the support programs as PCE works to develop the model REACH codes, really take advantage and leverage the REACH code package that PCE is developing. I'm told as a CAC member, it should be ready in the next month or so. So it'd be wonderful to revisit this discussion when those models are ready. And in the meantime, really focus on some of the support measures, things like what Commissioner Evans talked about with voluntary support programs that offer turnkey electrification at no additional cost, doing a lot of community outreach about the climate plan and the need to phase out fossil fuels, and also streamlining the permitting process and making it easier for homes and buildings to electrify. We really need to find a way to prevent new fossil fuel devices and uses. It's important for the city to exert its permitting authority in this way, but at the same time, we need to prevent any hardships and offer these support services. So I would love to see a priority on those support services and then come back and really figure out how can we craft the strongest set of electrification codes for the city that will put it on track to meet its 2030 goal. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I do not see any other hands raised at this time.
Okay.
Chair Price.
Thank you. Thank you. That means the meeting returns to me and we can open it up for discussion, this item for discussion amongst the members of the EQC. Does somebody want to start the conversation? Commissioner Cabot.
Thank you. So first off, I want to commend the staff, especially Rebecca Lucky and Chuck Andrews, whose kind of bold vision for the type and structure of a REACH code has turned out to be so impactful. And it really showed that one city making policy advances and experimenting can lead many others to make similar progress and build upon each other's progress. And there were other codes, even bolder than ours. And it's recently hit a new plateau where the state adopted something like that same device substitution code that Menlo Park adopted, that it be all electric for certain devices. That is the structure of the proposed base code. So what we've seen in one code cycle is Menlo Park's advance being adopted as the new structure for the base code for the state. But we also know from just watching the science roll by and the damages roll in from climate change and the emissions still hovering, that we have to make much more bold actions. And we are, the actions that get proposed at national levels, state levels, and even our own levels are insufficient to meeting these targets we have and to avoiding the worst of climate damage. So we're caught in a conundrum that we went from flat-footed and not moving on this problem to starting to move slowly. And so we've moved up to where we're starting to move slowly. And when I calculate the likely impact of adopting, it's easy for me to calculate options 1 and 2, and then I can guess 3. But options 1 and 2, since they affected about 87 buildings over, 15 months, it's about 5.5 buildings per month. And if we extend that out for the 84 months that go from when this rule would be enacted to the end of 2030, that really only amounts to a little under 500 buildings, a little under 5% of our goal for buildings to convert. So options 1 and 2 together only get to 5% or thereabouts of our targets, and they're also woefully short of Paris 2-degree targets, Paris 1-degree, 1.5 degree, and the state's carbon neutral 2045. So we're starting to discuss programs and plans that are completely inadequate for getting there. So they're only a tiny part of the solution we have to do. Now, option 3 goes a little further with the implementation of say, 2-way heat pumping instead of 1-way heat pump air conditioners, that just requiring that the same device be able to pump heat into the house in the winter. That type of requirement in option 3 is a step in the right direction. In fact, all of the measures put forward in option 3 are steps in the right direction. Some of them are noticeable. That the smallest one, I think, in there is that requirement to increase on-site renewable generation, which is on-site solar, pushing against Peninsula Clean Energy's clean power portfolio really doesn't reduce carbon to any great extent. So my thought about if there's any place to produce relief, it'd be in not increasing mandatory installation of cost-effective solar, but letting people just decide to put in cost-effective solar as they want. But the place the market has inertia that needs to be overcome through ordinances and assistance programs is in the real decarbonization, the shifting and pivoting off of fossil-fired gas and onto these clean electric resources that do require a new capital investment. So I agree with Council Member Mueller that we have to be proposing more advanced proposals to council. They have, we have to not hold back in what we propose. They have to be the ones balancing the pluses and minuses of public opinion and who's, looking at who's ready to cooperate and who's not ready to cooperate. And they need to make their decisions at the council level. But we need to focus on really giving good advice to council and staff to the extent staff's able to follow this as well. But we are, we're caught in a little bit of a timing crunch. Sustainability Manager Lucky has mentioned that the staff needs time to move these more bold proposals, especially if we follow like Commissioner London is suggesting, and I would support some more bold proposals, say in option 4 on top of option 3, that staff needs some time to put that out to the public to get sufficient public outreach accomplished so that council has the necessary feedback to understand the implications of moving forward and how that can help. So we've got to figure out how can we do this quickly and how can we leverage the staff we have and all the assistance that comes in from other areas, like through PCE's assistance they're offering. And then staff is showing us there is a scheduled April 9th opportunity with a study session in front of council to discuss things like these proposals. And my suggestion would be that we as a body discuss what else, or instead of this, what else we may want to add as agenda items that we think council ought to discuss at a study session. And since so many of the things that would be effective as to really move the needle on emissions end up having to go beyond just voluntary, that causes concern for council members who need to consider it. And they start looking into what are the support mechanisms that are in place to make it easy. And so my suggestion to us as a body tonight is to also be looking at, how can we advise staff about support items to agendize and explore for the April 9th study session. Support items like seeing what can be done with that public-private partnership to demonstrate no-cost retrofits to low-income residents, and also look at what can be done in barrier reduction and those issues of permit streamlining and or getting, the advancement of how to work on setback requirements, et cetera, that are in our ordinances, those setback requirements are there to make, to help us be good neighbors, but electrification is part of how we together all help be good neighbors to start doing this transition to preserve the climate. So I'm seeing these needs to have advice be given that helps people take a bigger view of the problem and to make bigger progress. And so, my challenge to us all tonight is can we come up with some suggestions for staff to take forward that will help expand the menu of opportunities on April 9th and produce the kind of clarity that staff needs so they feel the authority to move forward with advanced public outreach.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. So I mentioned this in the clarifying questions. So a big thank you to staff for putting this together in a really organized way that was really easy to get through. And I do really love your new recommendations about electric vehicles, and I'm interested in hearing more from Commissioner London on potential ideas that she may have to strengthen those. That's what I'm sensing from her, and I'm interested in hearing those, and I think I would support that as well. And staff, thank you for putting in the recommendation that would streamline pools and make those consistent and button those up, and adding an additional trigger to use heat pumps when a building owner adds air conditioning. So those are all wonderful things, and I appreciate those. And I agree that the job of the Environmental Quality Commission, as designed and I think as envisioned, is for us to advise on environmental policy and climate policy, and to recommend what we think the city needs to do to meet its target and to do its part to meet the Paris target of 1.5 degrees. And so we need to recommend reach codes that are going to get us there. And so I think that while option 3 absolutely moves us forward, and I'm excited about those new pieces, I do think that we need an option 4 that would include things like what the city of Denver passed in the form of an ordinance in November 2021, which is that gas appliances, when replaced, need to be replaced with electric appliances, but they phased out the implementation. So it gave the city, and it would give our city, time to put support services in place, do more outreach. And I also think that an option 4 would need to have a different trigger to building owners to have to adhere to the new construction requirements. So instead of it being 75%, which is sort of it's not clear what the numerator and denominator is of that percentage, maybe the trigger would be something more like 200 to 300 square feet that would trigger someone doing a remodel having to replace their gas appliances with electric. So if Menlo Park were to go at this on their own, I think an option 4 would need to contain those items. However, I am hearing that PCE, in collaboration with the other Bay Area Reach Code participants, are coming out with something robust that will hopefully include a number of support services that would allow our city to leverage so that we would be able to minimize our staff time. And so I'm just wondering how we can recommend to council a timeline that allows our city staff and our city to take full advantage of what pieces are in that proposal. I'm also trying to balance that with, I want to be respectful of staff's need to have a lot of time to do the desired outreach. So, if PCE were to come out with something, let's say, I think I heard in the comments, public comments, in a month, could we recommend to council that they they expedite the analysis of those and come back to EQC and expedite the recommendations to staff on what they want to do so that staff has ample time then to respond and conduct its outreach. That was a mouthful.
Okay, it's okay. Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Is there another person who would like to contribute? Or Rebecca, did you want to respond?
Yeah, if I could, Chair
Sure.
Price. So thanks, Commissioner Cabot and Commissioner Evans, for your feedback. And there may be some pathways forward. So just to kind of clarify the public outreach component, it's not necessarily an aspect of staff needing all that time. I think the community needs all that time, or the stakeholders that are impacted need that time and we need that time to get in front of them in various ways. And then I think the other component of it is, the reason why we're looking now is there is a very short window. Summertime, people tend not to be around, and they feel like then they weren't, informed enough because there was a lot of things going on. So we're trying to capture 2 seasons of outreach. And we've been talking about this for like almost 2 years about some of these measures. So there's confidence in moving forward with these options. And I did mention in the staff report that the Bay Area Reach Code Initiative, they are working kind of on the existing existing building options. And it is the team that we worked with for the cost effectiveness study. I think one other pathway is kind of if there are elements that appear to kind of be viable or implementable as a result, could be another opportunity to come before council. The timing is just really tough with the initiative, because even if they come out at the end of the month or even in early May, we need to vet them out from staff's perspective of how to implement it and make sure that we understand like the cost impacts and all those other aspects, and that takes some time, and then getting it on a city council agenda. So you're kind of looking at almost 2 months out from that vantage point. We have bandwidth, but the building division definitely has a ton of other kind of administrative work that they need to do as well. Of course, we would try to make sure we evaluate it, but we may have follow-up questions and all those other aspects. So I just want to keep that in mind. It's something we can do, but if those options tend to be more aggressive, and we're kind of going into summertime with aggressive options and trying to then kind of do it. So there could be kind of like a staggered approach between the two, like the ones that are being presented tonight and potentially some other ones. That could be a possibility.
I had Commissioner Cabot, did you want to respond? I had one question for Ms. Lucky, but if you want to, that's also fine if you want to go.
Let's see, mine builds on what Ms. Lucky just mentioned. So along that idea of, what may be a staggered approach to doing the outreach and leaving the public with adequate time. Perhaps if there's a scheduling way to schedule initial public outreach focused on those solutions, putting together support mechanisms to assist people with the transition, and for barrier reduction, having that be the first part of the outreach, and waiting a little bit to see if something very useful is now available by PCE following that. So using the initial time to work on our own support activity, sharing with the community and trying to hear what they want for support activities, and then followed up with what are the packages of impactful ordinance ideas, and putting that out to get the community support. So they'd also know or get the community feedback. They'd know what the support mechanisms are, and they'd know what the requirements would be in ordinances, and they could start comparing them together instead of hearing it's just a requirement and there's no assistance.
Yeah, I will say, the timing with maybe I want to make sure I understand. So when you're talking about support, Commissioner Cabot, I mean, is there kind of more context to that?
Things like participation or public-private partnership with
Okay.
Block Power or
Yeah.
other entities that might offer low or no-cost electrification services for low-income households, and there other mechanisms like that. That's on the support side, and then on barrier reduction, kind of starting the process to ease city rules about the installation of solutions.
Right.
And
Okay.
ease parking.
So you're talking about the
requirements.
timing. So could that be before the Bay Area Initiatives Reach Code team publishes their menu of options for existing buildings? Yeah, I think that's ultimately the aim. It really does depend on the information we receive and making sure that we've got all the pieces of information to kind of help decision makers make an informed decision. I think those things are well underway. So, so I think that's quite possible.
I had a different kind of question, which was, so you had mentioned that there was a cost effectiveness study, and it sounds like I hear from the group that we're all, myself included, interested in what are more, so what I'm asking is, what are some measures that you didn't include, right? You may have analyzed potential measures that are not included in what you're recommending. And I'm curious what they are, and if there's any information that you, like the reason you didn't include them has anything to do with the cost effectiveness study.
Yes. So let's see. So the cost effectiveness analysis and policy options did include other options where electrification could be required as part of alterations or additions. I think it starts with additions and then works toward alterations as add-on options. Yeah, I think, and the cost effectiveness really relied on replacing at the end of life versus early on. But there's this kind of trade-off, right? You have more time to research, talk to contractors when you're kind of doing an addition or alteration, versus at the end of life when you maybe don't have hot water and you're realizing you may need to do these other aspects that you didn't initially plan on doing. And so kind of that's where it became challenging. And I think it then came down to kind of those setback rules, the parking requirements. So even if we added additions and alterations, and I think that's something, I think that last measure of the existing building, option number 3, where it's, voluntary, like you happen to be like removing this equipment already. So, can we look at it? And I did caveat that with, we might really need to look at exceptions, like if they're unable to find a suitable location for the heat pump. And I think that aspect will give us a lot of information going into the next Reach Code cycle as to kind of what's happening and how do we kind of potentially address it. Did it happen to 80% of the applicants who were doing this work, or did it only happen to 10%? And so that also kind of helps inform the level of effort to maybe modify setback requirements or parking requirements. And also, I mean, as Commissioner Cabot probably knows too, like this technology is changing. It's getting better as far as size. It's getting better as far as like the electrical need. And so those are all things that we're watching and monitoring very closely.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans, you had your hand raised. Did you want to?
I had accidentally clicked the button.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry. Commissioner London.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what we do here. I do feel like there should be kind of a long-term plan of what we need to do by when to ensure we get to 100% by 2030. And I feel like we're kind of bumping along, as Commissioner Cabot said, but we're really not anywhere close to on track. So I don't even know if like specific new ideas at this point would be helpful. But I do think there needs to be kind of this overall plan. And I feel like Josie maybe created one at some point, but I'm not sure where it is. But anyway, I will just say one thing that I'm seeing that kind of crushes my soul is kind of missed opportunities. So across from my house is a school, a middle school, and they completely tore up the parking lot and put in a new parking lot. And there's nary an EV charger there. And I just think, like, what are the chances they're going to be willing to tear up that parking lot again? And so one small measure would be for any commercial anywhere or school, if they tear up their parking lot, they just have to put in to get ready for EV charging. Anyway, so I guess if there was something where we already had, it's already consistent with a plan that you guys have been looking at that we could recommend, of course, in my world, it would be about EV charging. So I would love to see kind of a bump up in the EV charging requirements that we have now. I'd love to see those bumped as high as staff could defend going.
Thank you. Commissioner Cabot.
Thank you. Just thinking of things that I want the council to be discussing at study sessions so that staff feels and notices that council's interested and feels empowered to pursue. Perhaps a way to get to more impactful measures is having those pressure relief mechanisms that Sustainability Manager Lucky mentioned the idea of hardship problems. And so if there were an in lieu fee, and the council could discuss having some kind of in lieu fee, and so in lieu of complying with an ordinance they would pass, if somebody had a situation that would have been too costly to implement, they can pay a fee that then goes into a fund that helps other people, maybe low-income residents, do the electrification. So there'd be not just carte blanche excusing people from participating in the transition to climate safety, but an in lieu fee they could pay if they really had a problem and felt that was worth doing, and get that relief for themselves. Having those kinds of mechanisms, I believe, can help the council see the viability of implementing stronger ordinances, the type that can move us partway towards meeting the Paris Accord and our own goals. So I think we need to use the opportunity on the 9th to have a discussion of support mechanisms, relief mechanisms, those things that go along and help build the confidence for the council that they can pass impactful measures.
Commissioner Evans, totally fine.
Why don't you, if there's somebody else.
Okay, totally get it. I have 3 dogs myself. That happens to me all the time. So what I'm hearing, again, I think from the group, we haven't heard from everybody, is that there's a strong desire to really ensure that Menlo Park puts forth our best effort to address climate safety, what Commissioner Cabot said. And I think what I'm hearing from the group is we don't necessarily feel like options 2 and 3 as they stand right now go far enough to what we would like council to consider. And based on the conversation I'm hearing, I don't think that there's a group that's objecting to that necessarily. I think the question becomes, like, what else would we want to consider? And there's been different ideas thrown out about that. So that's my summary of where we are in the discussion. If somebody disagrees with that, I think this would be a great time to voice that. Go ahead, Commissioner Elkins, did you want to address what I just said?
Oh, if I could manage to unmute myself. Yes. I don't want to jump in here and disagree. I want to reassure you that I'm feeling exactly the same way, and feeling that, but I guess I could add, I'm feeling like, I think I've heard from people that we could go ahead with recommending option 3 in kind of a staggered approach, while not cutting off further efforts.
So adding on, not saying we don't agree to number 3, but just saying we'd like to do more, and here's
Right.
what we were thinking. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad we got to touch base on that across the commission. And Commissioner Evans, did you want to return? Is your dog accommodating you now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I think what I'm also hearing, and you guys can correct me if you're wrong, is that any recommendation we might move forward tonight about which option and how strong the option should be, that there's also a piece in that recommendation to council that says, before you have this conversation on what kind of reach code we should approve, the council really ought to have a robust study session, discussion, whatever, on these, what we're calling support services, like the potential partnership with Block Power, the other ways that we can reduce barriers, like through permitting, setbacks, etc. And that we feel the reason for that is that there's these really robust solutions that we can put in place that will help to ease a lot of the tensions that might be associated with absorbing new reach codes. So that piece, I think that piece of the recommendation, that those conversations ought to come first, should be part of any recommendation we put forward. Hopefully if others disagree, please let me know.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. And when I made the summary, I just want to make sure I did not voice it, but in my head, of course, the support services was included, right? Because I think what we've heard is that we need to not only let people know what expectations the city can have of our commitment to climate, but also how do you get there? And so we're talking about both things coming together. Great. Is there any concern or question, or should we move into a conversation of what would we like to recommend in addition to the staff's combination of 2 and 3 that they are putting forward? Okay, so who would like to open up the conversation about what would be in addition? We've talked about support services, we've talked about if there are exceptions. I think this is what you were saying, Commissioner Cabot. If there are exceptions, how would we it was almost like if somebody needed to access an exception, is there any kind of fee associated with that, so that they're not so that money could be pooled and go towards potentially helping other individuals adopt all electric homes? That's my broad summary.
Yep. That's right. And that's very similar to in lieu of parking fees that many cities, I forget if Menlo Park is one of them, they have for developments that can't develop their own on-site parking.
Yes, I think Menlo Park, well, I don't know if Menlo Park has them, but I feel like we've talked about parking before. So, okay. And then the other question I have is just making sure that we're thinking about, so the initial reach codes, right, option 1, and supporting that was really about new construction, and making sure that there is information for new construction. Is there, what we're talking about, what I heard Commissioner Evans talk about was support services in addition to additional targets for existing businesses. So do we want to have a conversation about support programs towards existing businesses, or sorry, existing buildings? Sorry, I said businesses, I meant buildings. So do we want to talk about what some of those services might look like? Go ahead, Commissioner Evans.
I'm not sure that we would have to have a discussion so much as maybe just a bullet list of what we think. You guys jump in and correct me if you think I'm wrong, but just a bullet list of the kinds of services or programs that we think council ought to fully be aware of and have discussed, so that they could recognize that these are good, solid options before having a conversation about reach codes.
Okay.
And
So
it
there,
create a list. So one would be the block power public-private partnership that would provide turnkey retrofit services.
I'm just taking some notes. Service including.
And another would be, I also, I like Commissioner Cabot's idea of the in lieu fee. I think that makes good policy sense, and it's consistent with lots of effective environmental policies I've seen worked well in real life before. So a program like that.
And is it that Menlo, does Black Power already operate in Menlo Park, or is this, I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah. Yes and no. Yes, we are doing some pilots with them right now, and I've talked about a couple of those in prior meetings. I think towards the end of the meetings, one is with Haven House with the Life Moves organization, and we're trying to finalize that potential opportunity, and one is with another reputable affordable housing nonprofit in the Bellhaven neighborhood, and we're trying hard to move that one forward. So we have Block Power's involvement. They have an Oakland office, but when we say a public-private partnership, what I'm referring to is this notion of putting together a quasi-Ithaca style approach, a sort of full-scale voluntary approach that would allow Block Power to scale its resources in Menlo Park and get equipment discounts, help produce a robust workforce to actually do the work efficiently, and do outreach, and operate in a way that would provide people with an efficient, cost-effective turnkey resource to electrify their homes.
Okay. And so there's potential, in a way, there's potential cost savings for community members, like you, right? It did not, partnerships at scale may result in the possibility that there could be equipment discounts, there could be more people available to do work, and so that could potentially bring down the cost of the installation or the prep work needed to do in advance of an installation, et cetera. Okay,
right.
So what I hear is we want, whatever we move forward, and I want to be cognizant of time because Commissioner Elkins needs to leave at 8. So we have like 22 minutes. What I'm, to include Commissioner Elkins in a decision. What I want to make sure, what I hear is that we want to make sure City Council is aware of the broader kind of the area around a reach code, right? So we can focus just on the reach code, or we can talk about what happens around the reach code. Like we talked about, well, what is the planning commission cycle for evaluating setbacks and parking requirements in single family homes? Or what is, what are the potential other opportunities that could be available, like Block Power, not necessarily just Block Power, but public-private partnerships. Ooh, can't talk. So we would like the City Council to consider the services. Go ahead, Commissioner Cabot. Did you want to add?
No, please go ahead, and you were on a list, so I'll let you.
Okay, I'll finish my list. So I've got the services kind of for new and existing homes, including basically how to help homes and businesses become all electric. So from the services side, from the kind of regulatory side, we've talked about that, and that's represented in what the staff is putting forward. And then we've also talked about the idea that, if we do need to accommodate exceptions, again, through this tiered or gradual approach to all electric, in the beginning, if there are exceptions, we would like to ask the council to consider that in lieu fee structure for those exceptions, and not just to give them a complete exception to electrification requirements. that's what I've got so far. I understand that that's not anywhere close to a motion, but what do we want to add or modify?
I think we've got a good start there. I just thought I'd remind folks that that council meeting in August, when they had a study session looking at all this, and Ms. Lucky referred to it earlier in the meeting. Some of the concerns I heard them expressing was there weren't enough support services in place for them to be comfortable yet exploring, more impactful measures. And so, what we're doing is trying to figure out what is a list of those and some measures we can put at the front end of the upcoming April study session, so they have a chance to hear about and discuss those types of things they were looking for before talking about, what the science requires we do with impactful measures. So they get the two things in the right order, and then they're able to direct staff towards good activities. So I don't have too much to offer on all the different support services. There are some developing around us that people should become aware of that have happened in the intermediate time. For example, Peninsula Clean Energy is developing their on-bill financing program. And so that's available as a way to make things affordable by stretching out the payments for them at a zero interest loan. And then the state has come out with large new rebates for heat pumps, around $3,000 a piece for heat pumps, that were not included in the prior cost effectiveness studies that are all attachments to our staff report tonight. Also, the state has come out with, they've got their tech program with $2,000 additional rebates. So now in our area, there are $4,000 of rebates available for heat pump water heaters. And so when including all those rebates, it can make heat pump water heaters a lower capital cost option than regular gas-fired water heaters in our area. So there's a lot of support other people have put in place since the August council meeting, and it makes sense to alert council to that. And then there are the things that they can look at producing, or they and staff can look at producing for Menlo Park. So I just want to make sure people are aware of those things, and that council gets the proper information before advising staff on what to do with more impactful reach codes.
And just for clarity, I'm going to try to type some of these notes as well and maybe share them on the screen. So there could potentially be, again, two different pathways if we're returning back to council for existing electrification measures once they're available from the Bay Area Reach Codes team. But for the support services was really for the existing buildings, not necessarily the new buildings, because those have been, okay. And I think I am almost ready to share my notes without it looking like a complete mess.
So I'll summarize what I was hearing too. I was hearing reach codes need to be packaged with services, and that those services take two forms. One is the financial support and making sure council is aware of the level of financial support that is available both at the state and local level. And then the second is kind of the services support. So it's making sure council is aware that there is the potential for there to be more support in terms of kind of making things accessible or effective if we put in any kind of mandate, because there's more people to do the work, and there's more kind of knowledge and people to share the knowledge and make sure everybody really understands, like, what does it look like to put in a heat pump water heater, etc. Because I know we had some kind of complaints and concerns around the time that I think Commissioner Cabot is talking about, because I think Bay Ren had only a few advisors and they were getting so much demand, and so it wasn't clear, right, so we're going to increase the amount of people that can support individuals who want to make these transitions. And I know there were two hands up. I saw Commissioner Elkins, I think you had your hand up. Did you want to comment?
Oh, I don't know. I've just been thinking of throwing out the idea that we don't have to rely on outside sources completely. or outside entities, but the council itself could devote a small pot of money towards helping people under a certain income level, and just to prove and to show that that we are committed to this. And if you can't afford to do it, then we'll help you. And then also by saying, you know, but there's only this much money, so you better hurry. It's going to be gone.
So we could express openness to the EQC wanting to see financial support from the city go to making climate safety accessible.
Right.
Thank you. Commissioner London, I see your hand raised.
I would go ahead and, I don't know to what extent we've done this already. I kind of thought we had, but maybe not. But streamlining permitting for installing an EV charger in your multi-unit dwelling, your single family dwelling, your office, at your school, wherever, but just make it as easy as can be, and consider reducing the fees as much as possible. So just making that super easy. But I feel like we've talked about this one before, but anyway, that for existing buildings. And then for new buildings, like what, you know, I don't know if we've done a cost analysis, but just requiring that 100% of the units have, or parking spaces have day one charging available in some form or another with signage. You know, if we start with that and then let the city council say, oh no, we can't go that far, we could do a little less, and we just keep asking for it every single time. It seems like that's what we, you know, at a minimum, something that we're going to need. You know, I know there's a lot of disputes about level 1 versus level 2, but just, you know, a building is constructed, you move in, there's a sign where you park that says, hey, EV charging is available here. It does seem like that is something that would be helpful.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans? Oh, you might be on mute.
Apologies. Yeah, I was just going to say that I like, yeah, permit streamlining, not just for EVs, absolutely for EVs, and also for, you know, the water heaters and the HVAC systems. That streamlining for all electrification permits can be part of those services. But I mean, yeah, I think so. For bullet, I'm not sure who's typing right now. Is it Rebecca?
I am.
For the second large bullet under existing buildings, where it says include support services package for existing buildings. Yes, that makes sense. I guess what I was after was an EQC recommendation that includes sort of the order in which they're evaluated. So a recommendation that asks council to please have its study session on block power before it makes its study session on reach codes.
So
Is that for existing or
For
new?
existing.
Okay.
So it's recognizing that there is this structure around what would make reach codes effective, and that it's better to take them in the sequence. And it also, like to Tom's point, may make city council aware of some of the things that have changed since they last heard about some of the electrification, you know, suggestions or recommendations we're making, and how that may maybe be more feasible at this time. Commissioner London?
So I don't know, Ms. Lucky, if you know the answer to this, but I imagine that permitting fees are because the city is agnostic about whether the person does the thing permitted or not. And so I wonder if there's been any examples of where the permitting fees were waived because it's a behavior that we really want to see, and how that stacks up again.
I believe we do, Commissioner London, and I know Chuck may still be in the audience, but I think there's some state codes that require us not to charge, so we are complying with all of those And we did have a conversation about this a few months ago.
Okay.
So
Okay, and
I think it
basically-
is, we do comply like with the efficiency and the speed to get EV charger, our charging permits, as well as the fee component of it.
The other
Let me see
thing
if I
we
can-
know is that people don't, like, we know this from our previous conversations, is that many people don't get permits for the hot water heater replacements. But if they're, I mean, it's almost like the reverse. Like if you, instead of having to pay a fee, or instead of, like, if it was like, hey, the city will give you $100 if you just tell us that you did this, or, you know, if, but only if you're installing a heat pump water heater or whatever, that it's like the reverse of a permit fee, and maybe that would be helpful. Commissioner Cabot, I think you had raised your hand, and Commissioner Evans is raised now as well.
Go ahead, Commissioner Cabot.
Oh, no, I just like that idea of a reverse permit fee for installing devices that are part of the solution. Come in, get a permit, get a check from the city. And but if you want to install a problem, got to pay a fee.
Commissioner Evans.
I like that too. And I would also say, and we've discussed this before, but in the other specific measures to add section that's on the screen, I think there needs to be a bullet on hardship exemptions. And that would be a larger conversation that I don't think makes sense to have in a granular way right now, but that, you know, the EQC is certainly open to reasonable exemptions for people who need them because of financial or disability associated, medical associated hardships.
And just as we're doing this, it sounds like we want to go beyond option 3, but do we have, is there support for option 3 with some of these kind of enhancements and added recommendations, or are we not supportive of option 3 in the staff recommendation? And Commissioner Cabot, I think your hand is newly raised, but Commissioner Evans, I think your hand was previously raised. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Please, I'm sorry. I really need to get better about unraising my hand electronically. Please go ahead, Commissioner Cabot.
So to answer Chair Price's question, you know, for myself, yes, I support a recommendation supporting staff's option 3 plus these additional features to be discussed at a council study session. I wanted to also suggest that another item to be discussed and have council provide some direction to staff on is that use of a regular health and safety ordinance, say for cementing the new construction part of, you know, what we've been doing in REACH codes. And so those, as Ms. Lucky mentioned, REACH codes expire every 3 years along with the rest of the building code to be replaced by the next cycle. And so just to reduce, streamline the workload, since we know there's a lot of work to be doing on the climate problem on buildings, just to take part of it, at least out of the regular 3-year treadmill of the building code and put it into a regular city health and safety ordinance that would then be more permanent. It would exist until changed by the council.
Is that
Thank you, Commissioner Cabot. Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Yes, I just want to make sure I've got that. So it's looking at options that maybe you can articulate it again.
Sure, sure. It'd be for council to direct staff which measures they would like to explore including in a a long-lasting ordinance outside the
Okay.
building and energy code, because the building and energy code get on this 3-year expiration cycle. And so, what I'm thinking of for April is have council tell staff if that's something they're interested in having you explore, so you have time to explore it.
Yeah, that's definitely something we're going to be evaluating moving forward.
Do we have other additions either under existing buildings or other specific measures to add?
Or if there's any that you would want to
Or
remove.
anything else? Yeah, or
Yeah,
anything
because
that
I just started
remove.
writing down some commissioners' ideas, so I just was kind of writing as we're going, but feel free to discuss as a group.
Commissioner Evans?
These will sound like small things, and yet I feel like it might be important for that first bullet under existing buildings. If all of you agree, I think perhaps it can. I like it as written, and I think it could benefit from adding. Consider returning to EQC and City Council for existing building electrification measures, et cetera, et cetera. And somehow I'm hoping it can really capture the idea that we're hoping council can hold off on making its decisions about which new reach codes it wants to adopt or not until after it has discussed the second bullet, the support services. And maybe that intent is captured there. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure it's as clear as what you just said, Commissioner Evans. Because I think what you just said is almost like we put the cart before the horse, right? And so let's make sure the horse is before the cart.
Yep.
And so the way I might say something like that in this is to say that consider sequencing the support services for City Council review prior to the reach code, or considering them as a package, right? You could consider them together potentially, but considering just the reach codes in isolation doesn't accomplish what we hope to accomplish.
Yeah.
And this is for existing building measures, right? Just
Although I guess what that doesn't include, though, is that it doesn't. Sorry, I just butt in without raising my hand and having you call on me.
It's still raised.
Okay. I guess what it doesn't include is if we were to do it together, I'd want to make sure that we knew what the Bay Area Reach Code Initiative formally is. You know what PCE has to offer. Considering.
Yeah, it might make it a little bit tough because you mean come back to the EQC or
I think the issue coming back to the EQC would be timing, but I think what I hear from us is that what we care most about is that City Council recognizes that the reach code is it's great, but it is very specific and narrow to building codes. And that as we've uncovered that there are things that are needed around the building codes that would actually make implementing these, we could do more with the codes if there was more services to implement them. So making sure all of that's understood before we make decisions on the codes.
Yeah. But if they're done in the same session and we as an EQC haven't had time to make a recommendation about which of those more progressive codes, like the option 4 we've been discussing that we want, then council may be operating without that advice at that time.
That's fair. We have Commissioner Elkins at her designated departure time. She also has her hands raised. Is that what your hand is raised for?
Yes, I'm gonna just have to say goodbye at this point because I have another meeting starting at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
But you have a quorum, so you can continue without me.
We can. Thank you, Commissioner Elkins.
All right, thank you.
That's okay. Commissioner Cabot?
Yes, thank you. So I had a suggestion to Rebecca to consider in the top 3 bullets. The first bullet kind of what I think it's addressing is how to consider the order at the meeting for the next 2 bullets, as opposed to the order across the coming months, I think. And so my suggestion might be to take the 3rd major bullet, the include support services, and simply move that to the top. If this were looking like an agenda for a closed session. So that the things that get discussed are kind of the evolving severity of the climate crisis, the support services coming together, and changes in incentives around us, et cetera. And, essentially discuss all the reasons why it may be easier to take impactful measures before discussing impactful measures, so that they know the background of what has changed that may make their advice in an April meeting different than their August advice. Then getting down into specifics in the other specific measures to add, I forget if you'd called out ADUs as being covered by the new construction reach code. And so, I would include them. So that would be my advice for something to include. And then maybe to build on something raised by Commissioner Evans and working with Council Member Mueller's suggestion to put out some impactful things that are meaty for discussion, it would be to include that additions larger than 200 square feet, additions or alterations larger than 200 square feet trigger a whole house electrification. Essentially compliance with the new construction reach code. And I think something like that would be meaty for them to discuss, and they could figure out whether it's 200 square feet that triggers it or 250, or the whole range of trigger size. But things like that might help, get the conversation going that helps people understand we have to do so much action. We cannot afford to keep letting stranded assets slide by that get installed, and people do these remodels and install new fossil equipment because they're unimpacted by codes.
So under other specific measures, add ADUs to the required, if it's not already stated, add
They are
ADUs.
included.
They are.
Okay.
Okay, great. So we don't need to do that. And then the other was around the square footage, a square footage of approximately 200 feet triggering an all electrification requirement as if it was new building.
Right, for the whole building it's added to, as opposed to just for the 200 square feet or whatever
Correct.
size addition it was. So
200 square feet.
Renovation or
yeah, so
alteration.
alteration or addition would trigger whole home electrification.
Okay, sorry. So it might be getting a little bit late for me, but is it more or less than 200 square feet? Greater than?
So
200 or
so
more.
it'd be alterations or additions larger than 200 square
Yes.
feet. So we, yep.
Yeah.
Would require electrification. Okay.
Of entire building, full
Right.
electrification.
Full
As if it's new,
electrification.
like as if it's a new construction, would trigger the new construction reach code requirements or whatever
Okay.
the phrasing is.
Okay.
And then I think my question here is, do we need to have bullets 1 and 2 in the in the opening
Oh, sorry. Yes.
portion if we have bullet 3? So like under existing buildings, do we need to have both of those if we have the third, or what?
I think we definitely, at the very least, we still need bullet number 2 because that's not otherwise captured.
And it shouldn't be that we include that under there, under,
Okay.
is that, because I was wondering if it's a part of a support services package and you're calling out another, no. It's not.
No, it's the Bay Area Reach Code organizations, which include PCE and Santa Clara County and the East Bay, all coming together to make a recommendation on hopefully a progressive set of reach codes that Menlo Park could, largely implement if we wanted to. And then, well, you're right, they do provide support services. I take that back. So it's both sort of guidance and it's a suite of support services that they would offer to do all the outreach work for that, I believe. Am I right about that, Tom?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Hold on, I'm just reading what's there right now.
Sorry, and I'm moving things around too.
No, it's okay. No, you're doing great. Yeah. So Commissioner Cabot, Commissioner Price had a question of the Bay Area Reach Code initiatives, what support services are included there. And I was saying that it's both. One, they can offer guidance to cities, including to our own, on a suite of new progressive reach codes that we could then implement without having to sort of reinvent the wheel. And they're providing support services PCE through that would be providing support services, as I understand it. Did I articulate that correctly, Tom?
Yes, and also they've been providing their legal analysis of things so that our city attorney can also look at that as well.
So it would sort of, taking those would actually streamline the work that the city and the city staff would have to do. That it could be easier to leverage those analyses, including the legal analyses, rather than have to go at it alone.
I think the question I have is, I'm not sure how the two categories are different at this point, existing buildings and other specific measures to add. It feels like the first one isn't necessarily just saying existing buildings, but it's saying like almost like supports, like we want them to be aware of the full suite of support services that are available or will be available before they consider the code, like before they consider what they would do. Some of their questions or concerns might be addressed by services that are made available once Block Power has said what they're doing, etc. The second point under that is that we may learn through the Bay Area Reach Code initiative that there is a reach code that's being adopted broadly and it's more progressive than what we were considering, and we'd like to know about that before we approve anything, right? And then there's the other specific measures to add, but some of those do seem to be about existing buildings, and so I'm not clear on why they're in a separate category. But I think you're doing awesome, Rebecca. I'm just trying to understand and create clarity. And Commissioner London, you have your hand raised, I see.
Yes, I was just thinking about the larger than 200 square feet triggers this full electrification, and wondering if there needs to be something similar in the second group there, bullet 2, parking lot reconstruction. Like, would there be, I guess it kind of depends, like if you're hacking up the parking lot, where would the charging naturally go? Are you hacking up the part where it would go? But I don't know if there's a way to specify that.
I think those are some things that we could look. So we do have time. So we're not going for the first reading next month or in this next quarter. But I think that it's helpful to have some details, and we can look into those. Yeah.
Okay.
And isn't City Council going to hear it? Why do we have to recommend that it returns to City Council if they're just doing a study session? They're not voting on anything, so it is coming back to them, right?
Yeah, I think the points that some of the commissioners are making is we haven't necessarily, we haven't necessarily seen the full menu of options from the Bay Area Reach Codes team. And so that makes it a little bit difficult, because the idea is once we receive, initial direction, we can start to align the
Gotcha.
resources to draft an ordinance. But again, there's that very unique timing period. We're going to be entering the budget cycle really quickly. So it's going to be
Well, and
difficult
if the city
to,
council agenda gets delayed, then we could end up in a real pickle.
right. Yeah. So, I mean, yes, it's a very tight timeline. And even for the new construction elements that we're enhancing, it would be ideal to get in front of those groups that would be impacted before.
So is it more that we want city council, I'm sorry, Tom, is it more that we want city council to be aware of these other things in motion, or that we're trying to dictate the order in which they view things? Because I wonder if we can even, like, dictating process doesn't feel like it's totally, now that I'm reflecting on it, it doesn't feel like it's entirely in scope, but I could be wrong. I don't know what others think. Commissioner Evans, and then I'll go to Commissioner Cabot.
So I think it is well, as I see it, it's a process recommendation. And I think it is, while that might be a different style of recommendation than EQC has done in the past, because it's making a recommendation around city council's schedule and their processes. But to me, it does fall within the scope, because we feel like that order may greatly impact their decisions around meaningful and viable policy. And so, if, for example, the city council has had a chance to fully discuss and vet this block power idea and likes it, then, and votes to support moving that forward, then I would imagine that those same council members, those same policymakers will have a different set of criteria when making their decisions around new reach codes. So I feel like the process affects the policy.
That makes sense to me. Thank you, Commissioner Evans. And it looks like Commissioner Cabot is returning.
Thanks. I just had one little added word for clarification in the bottom bullet. Yeah, I meant that to be applying to would require a full building electrification, just so no one's confused about full electrification of the addition, but it's the full building.
Full building electrification. Okay. Do we feel do we, so I'm sure Miss Lucky is adding that word momentarily. We'll make sure, but in the meantime.
No, please, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you let me know? I was
It's
I
okay.
can repeat my
I'm
suggestion.
sorry, Commissioner Cabot.
It was just to clarify in the bottom bullet. I
Okay.
was suggesting it require full building electrification.
Require full, okay.
Yeah, and so that was to be sure people weren't confusing it with fully electrifying the addition.
Yeah. Which, I don't know why I find that when you say that, I find it funny. Okay, so what I was how do we feel about what we have listed here? Does this reflect the full scope of the additions and considerations we would like council to make when looking at the reach code?
I think just to make it abundantly clear from my perspective, I would, in that first bullet where it says, and after support services are considered by city council before voting on potential new reach codes.
Or so just before you make that modification, one of the things that Ms. Lucky said was that they're not going to vote necessarily at a study session, is my understanding, but they will provide direction. Okay. And so Is that right? And how do we make sure the phrasing matches Commissioner Evans's intent?
Yeah, so yes, that is correct. The study session is more for direction. And so when writing the staff report for the study session, there will be a section on the EQC recommendation, and it will say, and I'll reiterate it again, that the Bay Area Reach Code Initiative is going to be putting forward a menu of options that have not been released. We're going based on a report we had done last year on what we could do. And so that will be clear in there, and there'll be an option for City Council to kind of basically say, we do want you to come back, sustainability and building division, when those measures are released, and let us know if you think any of these options can really move forward, and get it to us in a, a timely fashion so that you can do the public outreach that's needed.
Thank you. What do you, Commissioner Evans? You look
In my body
unsure.
language.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So I'm trying to balance not creating bureaucracy with figuring out sorry for my pause. I'm thinking in real time. Do folks here feel like once the Bay Area Reach Code initiative comes out, say at the end of April, hopefully sooner rather than later, that it would make sense for that to go to the EQC first? Or do we just want to make a recommendation that council consider adopting the more progressive elements of those? I guess what I was pushing, it feels like when those come out, asking the building and permitting staff if those work, didn't feel like the right appropriate process for me, but maybe I'm misunderstanding.
So what I recall, and anybody, Commissioner County, Commissioner Linden, you guys were there, Ms. Lucky, you were there. What I recall was that we faced the same dilemma with the reach codes the last time, but it turned out that what Menlo Park was thinking about doing was more progressive than what this is, and Tom, you should definitely heard, but what I recall was that what Menlo Park was doing was a little bit more progressive than what the other parts of the county were doing at that time. And so we continued to move ahead, but it happened out of sequence like that, and we were still able to take the information into account as we moved forward. I don't recall if City Council did study sessions, and I don't know if that changes the process, but I don't. I think it would be okay for us to say we'd like them to consider adding afterwards any more progressive options that are put forward by the Bay Area Reach Code Initiative, for example. And I think what I'm struggling with in what's up there in the first area section is the separation of the Bay Area Reach Codes Initiative as technical components of the Reach Code from the support services. Like because I think they're being put together here, and I'm just not sure that, like, I don't know if that makes sense, and maybe it's just me. So if it's just me, you guys should say something. But to me, when I read this, it's not clear to me. I
see what you're saying. I could work on that while you're discussing. No, it makes sense. I see how you're reading it. It's just, I think a lot of us have already been super involved in some of these, and so maybe it's why it's not coming across the same way. But so I will say that the effort that we did for 2019 is the Reach Code, the Bay Area Reach Code Initiative, because they are working with so many cities. Again, I don't know what the options will be. It sounds like they're looking at kind of conservative, like in between, and then progressive approaches. And so I think it's just, and I know they're very attuned as to like where communities are and evolving. That's why we were so progressive. We were kind of an outlier in that case. which, but we did get the technical support that we needed from them. So I think if there is a progressive option that the commissioners are thinking of, I think that time is potentially now, unless, and I've tried to check in with the Bay Area Initiatives team, and the measure that I see on their website is more pointing toward a prohibiting gas in a future day, like 2045 or 2040. It's some communities are considering that long range kind of potential.
Okay. Commissioner Cabot.
Thank you. Yeah, I do think Menlo Park also ought to look at that issue of an end of flow, like has been adopted now in 2 other cities. And so, you know, it ought to get onto the table for discussion. Again, these things are easier to discuss once we've started discussing support services. And I do, when you get a chance, I do want to add a bullet to the bottom of the stack as an additional measure. Okay. The other bullet was, we've seen now the city of Denver has adopted something like the Replace on Burnout Ordinance, essentially a Replace on Burnout Ordinance, and adopted it with a 2-year lag to allow the, you know, more market maturity to happen in the space before water heaters and space heaters are required to be heat pumps upon replacement. So, but I think, you know, we ought, since it is good environmental advice that we're charged with producing, I would recommend that we include it on our list of items in the bottom set of bullets to add a replace at end of life requirement.
Thank you. Commissioner Evans and Commissioner Linden, you both. I don't know who was first, to be honest, so you guys can.
Neither do
figure it
I.
out.
Go ahead, Commissioner Linden. I'll go after you.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I have a hard stop at 8:30. So if we take a vote, I'd love to be part of it, or I don't know if we have to before we lose a quorum or whatever, but
We do.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so
Thank
then
you.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Apologies. I didn't mean to cut you off. So at the very top says EQC supports option number 3, and certainly I like option 3 better than 2 and 1, and yet I think what we're saying though is that we want to go deeper than option 3, but we want a chance to see what the Bay Area REACH codes have to offer us as far as progressive options. So I mean, as I see it, you guys weigh in. It ought to say at the top, EQC supports going much further than option 3 with the following considerations.
I think we can do that. I think the reason it was phrased that way is because it was like we support measure option 3 and this other, like adding this other stuff.
Yeah.
And we weren't saying exactly where these things would, like Chom was saying, if it's 200 square feet, like we're throwing out 200 square feet, but if they wanted to have a robust discussion in there, but yeah, considerations and additions. So I think we would all be disappointed if it was just measure 3 or just option 3 as it stands.
Right.
But and so we're trying to give them a list of other things to consider adding.
Yeah. I worry that, yes, absolutely. And I worry that it's still misleading. Because I think the bottom line is, you know, none of us are comfortable with option. Well, I shouldn't speak for others. I'm not comfortable with option number 3 as a standalone. And I want to make that abundantly clear to City Council, per the spirit of what we said earlier of, you know,
so
yeah.
Could we add a second sentence that says the EQC does not support option 3 alone?
Well, perhaps we can streamline it to be something like EQC supports
option 3.
option. supports adding the following features
Supports
to
option 3 if, maybe
If.
it's like an if
I think it's if the following
No,
considerations and
yeah.
additions
are
are made,
included, or yeah,
are
are made.
included.
Yeah, but but then you have to make it clear that's all those bullets down there, not
Yes.
just the, yeah.
Right.
And so
Right.
maybe,
And-
yeah.
And then it
Okay.
could just say specific measures to include instead of other specific measures. I think that makes it clearer
Uh-huh,
because
yeah.
it says other specific additions or something like that, or specific additions to include. I think it just needs to use the same term.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that it's two different terms is confusing.
Okay,
Sorry
thank
about the formatting of the.
Thank
Sorry
you.
about
And I
that.
realize I'm nitpicking, but I really want to make sure that whatever we write up captures our intent.
Oh, this is great. I mean, this always takes a really long time, and
Yeah.
this is great. This is what we're here to do.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Just put additions. Is that okay? Is that
Yeah, I think
additions
that's right.
to number 3, right? To
Option 3. And Commissioner Cabot, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I thought I'd just go ahead and make a motion now that we
Do what's on the screen. I'm
that-
just kidding.
a motion that EQC recommend council consider this list of additions made to option 3.
Do we have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Commissioner London will second it so we can have a vote.
Thank you. So we've got a motion from first by Commissioner Cabot and seconded by Commissioner London to advise the City Council on the EQC's support of option number 3 if the following considerations and additions are made. And I will take roll call now. I'm so sorry about that. Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Cabot,
Yes.
Commissioner London,
Yes.
Commissioner Price.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. Sorry, I was getting caught up in my notes there.
It's totally fine. I
Over
needed-
analyzing my every word.
I have to get back to my notes, so sorry. I know this.
Sorry, what happens if I need to leave? Like, do we have anything else to vote on?
We don't have anything else to vote on, so it's perfectly fine. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank
Bye,
you so much.
Commissioner Linden.
All right.
So the next item on the agenda is reports and announcements. Does anybody from staff or a commissioner have any report or announcement to share?
I do. I know Commissioner Elkins left, but I want to make sure that you're all able to at least mark your calendars for Arbor Day. It's on April 2nd. And now I'm frantically looking for the email from Joanna to give you the time and place.
Could you, is it possible to forward it to us after?
Yes,
so you're
I
not in the
can.
hot seat?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Thank you. That's exciting. That's around the corner. Any other reports or announcements aside from Arbor Day?
And then the other, we might need to do a bit of rescheduling next month. I don't know how others' schedules align, but I'll be out the week of the EQC meeting. So we may need to look for another meeting date, but since people have left, we'll just have to check in again.
What week is that, Rebecca, to avoid? Do we want to make sure we avoid?
I think it's just the Wednesday, so we either need to find like a Tuesday or Thursday
got it.
potentially.
Wednesday.
Not a Tuesday, that's council meeting, but likely like a Thursday.
Okay, got it. All right, okay. There's also, I'm not organizing this, but I know Diane Bailey and a bunch of folks are also organizing an Earth Day from 10 to 2 on April 16th. And maybe one of you has more details than I do, but since we are throwing out Arbor Day, we should mention that one as well.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
that's
and so that,
exciting.
yeah, that celebration and community event and information booths, et cetera, will be at Flood Park from 10 to 2 on Saturday, April 16th.
And I did find the Arbor Day. It's Hamilton Park on April 2nd, Saturday from 9 a.m. to 9:30. It's going to be a small in-person event with 4 tree plantings around the park.
Ooh,
There'll be a few students from the city's youth advisory committee to help with the planting.
that's exciting. Wonderful.
And I believe Mayor Nash and Councilmember Taylor will be there as well, but still confirming.
Totally understand. Are there any other reports or announcements? It looks like no. That means that we can adjourn the meeting. So it's 8:31 p.m. and we can adjourn the EQC meeting this March 16th.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.